Today we're going to talk about this big, beastly power bank from Anker, the biggest personal power bank they make. Something that'll allow you to run your iPhone 13 Pro Max for an entire week without plugging it into the wall. Also, do you ever wonder why they list these at 40,000 milliamps, but you only get around 25 to 26,000 milliamp hours out of them? I'm going to explain that at the end as well. All right, let's run over the specs real quick with this big beastly power bank. Listed at 40,000 milliamps. It's got a 4.6 star rating on Amazon. It is 6 1/4 by 3 1/4 by 1 3/4 deep. Weighs 2 pounds. Has 2 USB-A's and 2 USB-C's. This thing will charge overnight in about 7 hours using the USB-C port. Combination of 65 watts you can get. Use a 5-volt Anker cable, that's what I use, and I use the Anker Desktop plug-in. It's like a 4-port USB hub that works great. That combination will give you 65 watts and it'll charge this in about 7 hours. So go to sleep, wake up, and it's fully charged. What do I love about this? Well, it's big, I know that, but it allows me to go to the city for a 2 or 3 or 4 night vacation with my wife and just take this power brick. I'm constantly putting 2 or 3 of them in the go bag, and well, we get 1 night out of one, 2 nights out of another one, and then 1 night out of another one. This one is a little bigger, but I like the fact that it gives me all the power I need to just take it with me. No fiddling with trying to find plugs down behind the nightstand or behind the bed frame. It has 2 USB-C fast ports on it. I have been trying my damnedest to standardize on all USB-Cs. High-speed USB-C ports are great. I love being able to charge 2 USB-C items out of this at one time. It has a really durable feel. It doesn't get nearly as hot as the thinner packs when they're charging for a long period of time. On their website, Anker advertises 7.5 iPhone 13 charges with this battery pack. They're right. I did the math, I did the testing, it worked. Check this out right here. It has an 8 light ring to show you full power. Now, I like that, but I don't. Come on, Anker, get with the 21st century. Put a digital display on here that says 67% of power left. When you have 8 of these, that means that you could be 12.5% one side or the other of where it is. 8's better than 4, I'll give you that, but just give me a display of the percentage of the battery left, please, Anker. So what are the real downsides? Number 1, this bugger is really, really heavy. So you're not gonna carry it in a purse all day long. For long trips where it can sit on the nightstand and act as a surrogate charger. The other big negative factor with this beast is it's not TSA approved. It's too large to take on airplanes. So it's great for people who travel by vehicle, or you're just going somewhere for a few days, but if you're flying and it needs to get through security, this won't cut it. You're going to need a 26,800 milliamp because TSA has a 100 watt hour limit to battery packs you can take with you. This, I believe, figures out to around 138 watt hours. Too big. Now, sometimes too big isn't a bad thing, but in this case, it is. It will actually allow you to charge laptops up to 30 watt power delivery. The only inputs on this are the USB-Cs. You're like, well, Tim, why would you want to charge with a USB-A? Well, maybe you're like my desktop downstairs and the only port is a USB-A port on it. Well, not ideal, I know, but it would be nice if these were an input as well for a absolute just in emergency case. I took this fully charged 40,000 milliamp battery pack 7 days ago, well, actually about 9 days ago now, but 7 days previous to the ending of the experiment, and I started using my iPhone 13 Pro Max and charging it exclusively on this. Typically, I will use it all day. I'll shoot video on it, I'll be on it too many hours in the run of a day, and I'll get down to, on average, about 15% battery life when I'm ready to go to bed. I would plug this in, repeat process each and every morning. So let's do the math. iPhone Pro Max 13 has a 4,352 milliamp battery. Now, each day I used about 85% of that capacity. Brings it to around 3,700 milliamp. I didn't quite get 7 charges. I got about 6.5 charges out of it. The last day I got it up to around 68%. So my back of the napkin math says I got about 24,000 milliamp hours out of this. Now, if you go down to the standard iPhone 13, not the Pro or the Max, they claim you can get 7.5 charges on one of these battery packs. 3,227 milliamp hour battery in the iPhone 13, which once again gives you a capacity of around 24,000 milliamp hours. Now, great, I can run this for an entire week, but you're probably asking me, Tim, 40,000, 24,000, what happened to the other 16,000? Is Anker lying? No, but let me explain. So we're going to get into some math here, but I want to explain to you why these numbers don't seem to add up. I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible. So this 40,000 milliamp hour battery pack made with lithium ion is made up of a bunch of 3.7 volt cells. Now, in order to transfer it through USB-C or USB, the standard is 5 volts. A circuit in here has to convert the 3.7 volts to 5 volts. When it does that, you then take the watt hours, which is 40,000 milliamp hours times 3.7 gives you 148 watt hours. Divide that by the volts that it needs to be transferred to, 5. That brings you down to just below 30,000 milliamps. You'll say, Tim, that accounts for 10,000 milliamp hours. That's where that loss goes. We're not actually losing power in that instance, it's just being transferred. So the capacity you get at 5 volts is around 29,600 milliamps. Now, we need to subtract another 15% because when this runs, what do you get? Heat. When it runs through a cable, what do you get? Resistance. What is resistance? Heat. So, on these packs that are decently efficient, you lose around 15% to heat and resistance. Guess what? 29,600 milliamp hours multiplied by 0.85 or subtract 15% brings you down to a usable milliamp hour of around 25,000 milliamp hours, which is exactly 6.5 charges on an iPhone Max Pro 13. Is this a 40,000 milliamp hour battery pack? Sure it is. If you are charging 3.7 volt devices. If you're charging 5 volt devices using a USB-C cable, then it has to be converted. Why, you might say, why don't they just do it at 3.7 volts? It's about control. It helps keep everything standardized so that a battery pack doesn't get too little voltage and die, or too much and go boom. So that's the reason why. 5 volt standard has to be converted. Cells that are in here are 3.7. We can't change chemistry or physics or whatever you want. That's just what happens. So we lose 25% in the conversion, 15% in resistance and heat, and that is it. So this is an absolute beast of a brick of a power bank. Right around 75 bucks. It's worth every penny. This has become my go-to. If we're sitting around in the living room and our phone is absolutely dead or getting close, this is the one we go and grab because I don't have to plug it in and make sure it's recharged every single time. 2-3 charges, then I plug it in. It is a little heavy. I don't mind. It just sits there anyway, like most power banks. I don't ever hold on to a power bank when I'm charging with it. I just sit it next to me. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the Anker power bank. Great prepping idea, especially if you need something where if you're going somewhere, you can't plug in for 7 days, or maybe couple it with a small little solar panel. I don't know. Anyway, another idea for another day. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this trip down the workshop with a new review. If you want to stick around, hit that subscribe button. And of course, if this video gave you value, share it everywhere and anywhere. That is what supports the workshop. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.